Ebon Sochki Tea Talk Train of Thought with a series of an episode with Mr. Tarundeep Singh Anand, Managing Director of UBS Business School, Karjat. It's an interesting episode. So what we are series of an episode and the exclusive story of Mr. Tarundeep Singh Anand on Tea Talk Ebon Sochki. So it's an excellent conversation to what we are having. And if you look in today's the trend which what we have seen, more people they are focusing on a specific function rather than talking in terms of a multidisciplinary approach which is there. So what are your views on that?
No, so I think the world is going to have complex problems. It currently has, and one of the most complex problems is the environment and the sustainability challenge that industries, companies, nations are facing, and populations which are getting affected. So in such a complex problem, the only way to deal with this is to have multiple perspectives, right? You've got to look at the human side of it. You've got to look at the energy reliance of it. You need to look at the commercials of it. You need to look at the self reliance of large countries and their energy needs and their import-export. Technology, how is technology going to play a role in this? How are startups created in that space to do it? So there's so many multiple variants. There's the human side of it, the health hazard side of it. So that's how you one person with one view cannot solve this complex challenge. And similarly in the business world also, there's no challenge, there's no case study. I've written multiple case studies, and we see that there are nuances of human resources in everything, nuances of leadership, there are nuances of decision making, there's of course technical know-how, operations, supply chain, there's the market, what is the market saying, and if you don't have finance. So an enterprise is a function of all these, so is every issue, and therefore I am a big proponent that you need to solve the issues of today, you need multidisciplinary thinking. Of course, in the initial phases of your career, you will have to be a master of one to build that, because at that point you're looking at depth, and you will be hired for that depth, the knowledge of that depth in that particular area of marketing, finance, or so on. But eventually, and that's when you get into what we call general management, right? You start in a function, then you go senior, and you get into general management, where you now need to comprehend all these aspects. So if you can, through your curriculum, have exposure and experiential learning opportunities which bring these things together, that's going to maximize. So we are doing what is called CMAPs with corporate, so collaborative multidisciplinary approach towards problem solving. Collaborative multidisciplinary approach. Now what is that? We go to companies and say, hey, every company, every business guy you go, he's got many issues he's dealing with. He wants to expand somewhere, he's having issues in maybe a marketplace, he might have issues on his supply chain because of the current issues with China and Russia. So he's got issues. What we do is we get a team of multidisciplinary students and faculty along with the corporate. For 1 month, the students are just focusing on solving
the problem area which is there.
So even if the guy is a finance guy, he's bringing his finance perspective, but as a group, he's learning from his mates in other areas. And that's what's going to hold him.
Okay, that's a synergy which is there, which is being developed. And so in this VUCA world, like how the skill market trends have changed, like?
So skill market trends have been, the basics are there, communication, right? If you're not a good communicator, you're not going to go far. So, and no business school can teach you this. You've got to figure this out. You've got to work on it, self-learn it, go to classes, whatever it takes. So communication, I think, is very important, because you're communicating in an organization, you're not alone. And it's become even more accentuated because you're now in a work from home world, you're in a virtual world. So if you can't communicate well, you're not going to be able to do business. I had the privilege of doing that when I was, 20 years ago, I was running a global business in 100 countries. We didn't have Zoom then. But we had, we had to communicate. So we were on video conferences every day. Every single day we had to figure out the situation, the cultural aspects. So communication is core. Historically, now even more so. The next I would say is what I call the SMART. So you've got to figure out have a critical mind, right? A logical mind, a critical thinking mind. And so we try and train our students to develop that through this CMAPs and various such challenges, because you got to get to root cause of the issue that you're dealing with. And if you can have that logical mindset, that skill is of a high premium. Of course, these are, and this leads to what I call problem solving. Correct. Companies will hire you only to solve problems. They will pay you a lot to solve problems. They're not there to say, come and do some clerical work. No, you being hired as a management professional to solve problems. So that problem solving. So I always tell my students or my teams, right? There is always, earlier the world used to be, go to your boss problem hai. Then the boss will solve the problem.
He will solve the problem.
Right? I used to, in my career, never go to my boss with a problem. I'll go with a solution. Here's the problem. I have solved it. Here. Boss, tere zarurat hi nahi hai. I don't need you. You don't exist. That's why I made the boss redundant. The day you make your boss redundant, you get his job.
Correct.
If you want to move up, if you want to keep going to the boss, then you're not ready for the next role. So that's one very, very important area. And of course, then, it goes without saying that you've got to now start working in a world in a collaborative way. So negotiation, whether it's negotiation or networking, all of that gets better if you have bigger insight. How do you make that insight? Is by being personable, being liked. How do you become liked? Is by building relationships, those long-lasting relationships, whether even in personal world, right, or in professional world. If you are liked, you'll be the one. So I, lost my job. I got made redundant because some guy in New York said this role is not required around the world. So 2,000 of you are off the balance sheet. The day that happened, 2 weeks later, so you feel bad, right? Because you are one of those, you feel, maine kya galti kiya? I got a double promotion. And I'm like, wow. And I asked myself, why is it? And then again I got redundant. And again I got a double promotion. And again I was made redundant. And again I got double promotion. In a span of 2 years, I got 6 promotions. Why? Ask yourself why. Because of the relationship building, the problem solving, willing to go into areas which weren't mine. So when the next job came about, they said, no, Tarun is the only guy. They don't have to look out. He's there and he's available. And I'm like here feeling upset, and suddenly I get a better job, and I get a even better job, and I get an even better job in few years' time. So if you're willing to be that kind of person who's building great relationship, I think you're going to go far.
I no doubt. I think that's what sports rugby teaches about, to be more aggressive. And in most of the organization, don't be problem for them. Like try and be a problem solver. Like they look for, you are being hired in an organization to solve the problem. Don't be a problem for them. And if you can make your bosses redundant, as what I think Mr. Tarundeep Singh had narrated about that, you can go higher up in the ladder much faster. So it's a real great insights and gyan to what this T-Talk audience they are getting with the presence of Mr. Tarundeep Singh Anand, who is a managing director of an prominent universal business school in Karjat, where like more or less we talk in terms of an experience learning. That's the reason how their products are different compared to the other B schools which are there. So it's an excellent. Now, in fact, when we talk in terms of to stay more relevant in the digitally transforming global landscape, so what we'll do this, I think we'll take in the next episode. It's a very interesting, like basically how one needs to stay relevant in the digitally transforming global scenario which is there. I think if you like Mr. Tarundeep Singh's story, just go to the comment box. You can whatever the queries you are having in terms of some directions or career which are concerned, you can put in questions across which will be addressed. Keep on watching www.ttalk. Share and like the channel as much as you can. Thank you very much. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.